the second time I'm recording this. But yeah, if you go to sequelize.org, you have the full documentation for Sequelize, all the versions, right? Version 3, 4. I'm using version 6, so yeah. So here I have an empty project. I'll just npm init the -y to create a package.json, and yeah, here we can take a look at this example of how to start with Sequelize, which is a promise-based Node.js ORM tool for Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, SQLite, etc. Features transaction support, relations, eager and lazy loading, replication, and more. Yeah, so here's the API. Here you can see the types, the models, and everything, the associations, dialects. Yeah, so if you click model, you see the definitions, and yeah, and then you have this quick example which I'll try to make first. So I'll first create here an index.js, and yeah, type just npm install -save Sequelize, and let's see, to install the Sequelize, which is kind of quick. It's not very heavy at all. Yeah, if you go back here to the docs, you can see this quick example. I'll just copy it, paste here. Yeah, it basically creates a user, passing the Sequelize instance that you create here with SQLite memory param to have the database in the memory instead of in the hard drive, and I create a model with model name user. Yeah, and then I create a Jane user with username and birthday. Yeah, so here you init the user with the data types, right, with string for username and a date for birthday. Yeah, and then here you call Sequelize async to create or outroute the database tables, which in this case is only user, and then you print the user, create the user, and then print the user after you've created it. That's very simple code. I'll just run it with node index.js and see what it does. Yeah, so it failed here for some reason. Probably I misinstalling something. So let's see what it is. Yeah, so please install SQLite 3 package manually. So this is the driver for the database that I'm using. I'm using SQLite memory, so I need to install the SQLite 3 driver to use it. So if you go here to the docs and click on getting started, here it says you have to manually install the driver, right, for the database of choice, which in this case, in my case, is SQLite 3 npm install, right? So I'll just install it, move back here, yeah, and npm install -s save SQLite 3. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I think I did it. Yeah, so here you have to connect to create a data Sequelize instance. You can pass a parameter either separately or passing a single connection URI, right? So there's several ways. Option 1, 2, 3 here. Here you just pass a connection URI such as these. You pass the parameters like dialect and storage, and here you pass everything separately, which is another way also, right? So you pass the database, the username, password, the host and the dialects, which can be MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, or MS SQL. Yeah, so just run it now that I installed. Yeah, and it seems to work, right? So it ran create table, created the users table, and inserted the user, which is Jane Doe. Yeah, so there's the ID, the username, his birthday, and everything. Create, add, and updated it. Yeah, so that's to test the connection to Sequelize. You can call the authenticate method, and you can close it by calling Sequelize close. Yeah, so here's some tutorials, associations and everything, querying, model usage. Again, this is for version 6. There's model basics, and there's the getting started. So the model basics, models are the essence of Sequelize is an abstraction that represents a table, right? In Sequelize, it's a class that extends model. There's two ways to define and create a model. You can call Sequelize define, or you can extend model and call in it, which is those are equivalent ways, right? These are both ways shown how you do it here in the code. So you can call Sequelize define user, or you can extend the model, right? So in this case, there's a first name with data types and everything. In this case, I call init. One calls the other internally, so they're the equivalent ways to create a model. So there's stuff about public class fields. Yeah, the name of the table users was not defined explicitly, but Sequelize infers the name because you call the model user, right? So SQLite memory, you can freeze the table names for it not to do it, right? So if you freeze, then it won't make the table name users, which is a plural. It will just make it user, the same name, right? Frozen. Yeah, so this is how it does it. It has something called inflection, where it knows the plural, for example, person to people. So if you call a model person, it will create the table named people, right, which is the plural. But you can freeze the table name for it to be the same, right? Or you can provide the table name directly. And then you synchronize the model when you run after you connect, right? You can call sync, which creates all the tables for the models that you defined, and it drops the table if you set false to true. If the table already exists, in this case it will drop it and create it again, instead of trying to alter the table. or you can call alter to alter it. Uh, yeah, you can also drop the table yourself. We're calling drop. But these operations like sync and drop are destructive, right? So they pretty much destroy the data. So you probably should not use it in production. In production, should use migrations, which keeps your data, right? By using Sequelize CLI. So yeah, by default, Sequelize automatically adds the fields created and updated to every model using the data types updates. You can also change the name of these fields created and updated. Yeah, so here are some of the data types that exist. Every column in your model should have a data type. For example, it could be a string, an integer, a float, a text, a vector, a boolean. Yeah, date, a unique user ID, something like that. Yeah, and there's also other options for columns, like setting the default value and setting allow no. Allow no is the column can be no or not. Yeah, the models are also classes, so you can do stuff like this and create a method like get full name that prints data from the model, like first name and the last name. You can just create a function like this, a public function, join everything in the class, and then print it with get full name. So it will print join do. Let's see what else.